Hello and welcome to the North Bank podcast. Happy new season, everybody. Yay!
Whee!
It's our 100th consecutive season in the top flight, some distance ahead of second place. Just a nice little reminder of how special a football club we really are and how fortunate we are to be supporting this behemoth of a club, Arsenal. Anyway, we will touch on the pre-season a little bit, but the primary focus for this podcast is a preview, our first of the season. Man Utd Away, Sunday, 4:30 p.m. Probably the most feared of my fixtures every season, and I'm scarred by Ferguson's teams. I'll admit it. And everything I say about the current iteration of Arsenal and Manchester United is completely coloured by what's gone on before. So I apologise in advance if I'm not as upbeat and positive about this game as I might be. However, Steph, I fully expect you to balance my Eeyore nature with your predictions and forecasts for the game on Sunday.
Well, I might shock you. I might surprise you. It might be a new season, new me.
You will shock me. If you haven't predicted 1-1 draw, I will be shook. Consider me shook. Okay, so look, before we talk about the United game on Sunday, we've had no movement in the transfer window for Arsenal specifically, but Arsenal Twitter sphere went into a bit of meltdown yesterday when Eze was linked, unsurprisingly, with Spurs, or Spurs have come back in. The second that Maddison picked up his season-ending injury, they were going to come back in for him. Now, I'm hoping that this news that was tweeted yesterday is more about Palace and Eze in particular trying to chivvy us along a little bit. But I think the consensus is we have to sell before we can make a move on Eze. That seems to be the perceived wisdom of what's going on. And I need to reference Tabs here from the Grove podcast because he's been giving me a bit of grief about referring to Arsenal as a poor selling club. And he has his reasons, and we might get him on soon we'll get him on after the 1st of September, so it's fair. So we'll have a holistic approach to the transfer window. But right now, as I expressed to him, if we don't buy Eze or cannot buy Eze not because we're not interested, but because we haven't sold the likes of Nelson, Zinchenko, Lokonga, Vieira, then, I mean, Chris said he'd take a point off the score out of 10 for the transfer window. I'd be tempted to knock 1 or 2 points off because we have done extremely well in the players we've purchased. I absolutely. But we're not quite there, and we've got a bit of a bloated squad in certain areas, and I feel like we need to shift a few of these players just for that natural churn, but also to generate the funds and the space for an Eze. Because don't look, as much as I'm not sure whether he's a left winger and he's the absolute 100% what we need right now, but his maverick nature, his versatility, how he can play on the left and he can come inside as a number 10 or a left 8. You cannot have too many world-class players, Steph. I think you might have uttered that a few times in the past. How did you feel yesterday? Because you were quite quiet on our WhatsApp group in relation to Eze. I know you were busy like digging holes and so on. How do you feel about the potential for Eze or missing out on Eze? I mean, ignoring the fact that he's going to go to that lot down the road, if that's how it transpires, that may be colouring people's reactions as well. But, you know, will you be content if we cannot sell these players and therefore ergo cannot bring in that left wing spot?
So there's a couple of things at play, because we're recording this on sort of Wednesday evening, and The Athletic have started to publish extracts from Alexander Zinchenko's autobiography that he's written. And they've obviously chosen a section that will drive engagement, and it's him reflecting on last season. And I think it's very honest and it's very truthful and also very understandable in that he felt like last season was one of his worst because he's geared his whole life to being a footballer, wanting to be the best, and he just felt, kind of surplus and not used. There probably should be a little bit of reflection on his part in that these things happen in football. It's a competitive sport and it's elite sport, and if someone comes in and starts to perform better, hey, guess what? You are going to sit on the sidelines. What's slightly struck me about that is I want to know why there's not more noise about him wanting to go somewhere to be first choice and be loved, and because Arsenal would be willing to sell, I'm sure. So that is an interesting one. A lot of people are just saying, oh, well, he shouldn't say negative things. Whereas I'm of the opinion, well, actually, if his thing is wanting to play football and wanting to be central to a team, loads of teams out there that would love Zinchenko. Just because we've perhaps moved beyond what we require from him doesn't mean someone else won't. So that's a bit annoying. And hopefully there's a good outcome for everyone regarding that.
Can I just on the Zinchenko point? I think there's an issue with what's the word? Awareness, a lack of awareness on his part. And again, on a personal level, I get it, and his view of being happy and what makes someone happy is understandably impacted by what's gone on in his home country, and I'm sure that's had a big impact on him, and I get that. But read the room a little bit. You have to see one of those pieces that was released. He says, I realise I am very privileged sitting on the bench receiving a generous, i.e. 100k a week salary that billions of people, his words, billions of people would be happy to swap their work for. Well, the very fact that you feel compelled to say that, don't put it to print. It's come on. There's a word, because I haven't taught for 4 weeks, my brain's gone mushy. What's the word that describes a lack of self-awareness, or he should have more self-awareness? What is it?
Well, I mean,
there's a word.
There's a level of ignorance to it, but obviously that has slightly different connotations, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, it's not. Yeah. Anyway, don't worry.
Yeah, I mean, back to the transfer part then. That should signal, that player and club want to find that. I think a lot of it is, as much as it's not so much a financial thing for me. I think Arsenal are a club that don't want to be the kind of club that make, first team players. These are they're senior in age. They may be getting a heavy wedge in their wages as well. They don't want to have them as surplus to requirements within the club. We've not got room for you, so go train with the under-21s. I don't think we want to be that club. So I think it is a case of, were there a move for Eze? There's one or two rumours about other wingers that are possibly, alternative players that we can pursue, that will rely on us moving perhaps 1, 2, possibly even 3 players around that. I still think there is some levelling up that we could do within the squad, and it is probably on that left side. But at the same time, pre-season was lacking a bit of creativity, full stop. So Eze is the one that we've all sort of focused our attention on. Would a proper left winger come in also? I think that would be good. Would I go as far to take a full point off in my, star rating of how this transfer window's gone? I don't know. It might move the dial a little bit. I get that, because actually it's more about the players that remain. Lokonga, Vieira, Zinchenko and Nelson. Like you say, there is 4 players there that just going to be playing the cups, and actually
not even that.
Not even. Yeah, exactly. So it's one of those things. I did also read earlier today that Nelson is pretty determined to stay and fight for his place. I think there was a quote published, don't know if it's direct from him, saying he considers himself the best left winger at the club, which, again, slightly bold statement. I get that. You've got to back yourself. I quite like that. But at the same time, the writing's been on the wall for 2 or 3 years now. A move to Fulham looks like it would be ideal.
I read that he said that he's looking for another loan move, not a permanent move.
Right.
So he does still see himself.
To what end, though? I mean,
an Arsenal player. I mean, listen, he's been there all his.
I get it.
Career. It's. Would I want to leave?
No, I'm with you. I get that. Yeah.
It's. But we need him to go. We need him to. I mean, the grass isn't always greener. Eddie, Emile, they haven't exactly pulled trees up in their moves from last summer. He might look at that. I'm sure he's still in touch with them. They're all good mates. It is a difficult one.
But this is where the emotion of the club you've been with since a boy, and even us as fans following, to the cold ruthlessness of competitive sport. The reason Nketiah and maybe even Smith Rowe haven't been pulling up trees having had their moves is because maybe they're not as good as we hoped that they would be. And we, Arsenal, are in such a good position to, try and nudge forward in our competition for, the Premier League, the Champions League, that there has to be that cold ruthlessness. I'm not the person to do it. We all thought Berta might be. He seemed to resolve the Tomiyasu situation with that kind of clarity.
That ruthlessness, yeah.
Yeah, so it's an interesting one. Perhaps because of the injury, that made it a little bit clearer. Whereas these are players who have contracts, have wants and needs, and need suitors. So trying to create a market for them is maybe trickier.
I've just written that phrase down, create a market, as you spoketh it. But if you can't create a market for them, then you need to motivate them. In my opinion, and the way you motivate them, I do not. We'll talk about the team selection for Sunday. However, I'm not looking at the first team. I'm looking at the bench. You sit down and you say to these 4 players, Karl Hein as well is in there as the goalkeeper, is not going to get any game time. And you say, look, you're not in the squad for Sunday, and you will not be in the squad for the foreseeable, barring an injury crisis.
Well, Leeds, Liverpool. That's your 3 games, transfer window.
You are not in the squad, and I'll be really annoyed if I see someone like Vieira, and he's not been back really training. I don't know where he is. I'm not seeing him in any photographs. So, but as an example, I would be really cross. Who cares if I'm really cross? But anyway, I would be livid. If I see Vieira, I won't sleep if I see that. Vieira on the bench instead of, say, Max Dowman, for example. That's the kind of thing. It's like, no, you need to motivate these players. Like their sporting integrity. Listen, they've got to where they've got because they have got not just the ability, but they've got that mental resilience. You do not become the 1% of the 1% without that mental fortitude. So it's not gone, and I get it, like earning 100 grand a week, but it cannot be, as you said, it cannot be about money for Zinchenko. Now, again, Zinchenko could be quite a nuanced situation, that he obviously is a very thoughtful character. I mean, I think he was ill-advised to publish that. I think with what's going on elsewhere in the world and so on, there'll be little sympathy for him. But yeah, he's maybe a slightly not distorted but different, nuanced view of what happiness is, and he's in a happy place. Like, he loves Arsenal. His family's obviously very happy in London. It's like, he's got a year left on his contract. But and he will play for Ukraine every game. It's not like he has to keep himself so Trossard's the interesting one. I didn't mention Trossard there, but Trossard should really be the one that's motivated, because he's not a guaranteed starter for Belgium. World Cup year. And rumours, I'm fed up hearing about the rumours of the various clubs interested in Trossard. We've only got was it 13th as we're recording this? Like
3 weeks.
Less than 3 weeks of the transfer window. Can some of these rumours please become sales? So it's. Can I go on? Sorry, I didn't. I don't know if I interrupted you then. I probably did. Usually.
Well, no, and Trossard's another interesting example because he's not a guaranteed starter for us. He's not a guaranteed starter for Belgium, like you say. Will be his last World Cup, you would assume, given his age profile, and albeit he could be a very good option for us off the bench, as he's has proven slightly in the past, and he's been a generally good buy for us in the 2-3 years we've had him. But at the same time, like, I don't know, it does feel like maybe it's time.
Looking at the other teams, I had I did this a couple of weeks ago, but we didn't record a podcast, so it kind of became a little bit outdated. But I've got the updated figures now. I was just curious about the net spending of other teams in this transfer window. And this is interesting. Okay, so Arsenal, we'll start with us. We've spent 194 million and we've generated 4.3 with leaving a net spend of 189.7 million, right? Net spend 189 million because I think Tavares is the only incoming cash we've had there. Chelsea, they've spent 256 million, so they've spent quite a lot more than us, but they've generated 154 million. And I don't care, like, granted, there's just weirdness going on with that club from time to time, but their net spend is only 100.
Allegedly. I'd like to say allegedly.
No, weirdness. Well, what's weirdness? You can't quantify weirdness. So, like, I could be, women's football team, but anyway, Sale, allegedly weirdness. Their net spend is 102 million. So their net spend is 87 million less than us. Okay? Liverpool. Wow, where are they getting the money from? That's what I hear a lot of. And they have spent 293 million. But they've generated 199 million. Their net spend is only 94 million. Now, they've got Mark Gay and this other 18-year-old centre-back from Italy coming in. I think it's 35, 38 for one, maybe 30 for the... I don't know what it is exactly. But even still, their net spend is half of ours.
And they've been following a pattern really since this whole PSR thing came in, where they almost take a window off every now and again, and so they really sort of hold back so that they can spend a bit more at other times. We've clearly fallen into that given our lack of spending last January, so that's perhaps helped us spend a little bit more this time. But like you say, doesn't seem to be any sales going on.
And Liverpool then could drop 130 million on Isak, which is a really, like, if I start thinking about Isak and how he's behaving...
Well, just start thinking about how unbalanced their team will suddenly be and how top-heavy that will be. And they'll have 6 or 7 players in the starting lineup who want to stay high. So if you get past that...
Yeah, and 6 or 7 players who want to play in 3 positions. So, keeping them happy and so on. But, when I...
Nice problem to have.
Yeah, no, for sure. You can't have too many world-class players, yada, yada, yada. But the way Isak's... I mean, to come out and say 2 weeks before the week before the season starts that I'm never playing for Newcastle again, even though they're paying my wages. Now, I know there's a bit of hypocrisy for an Arsenal fan to come out and say that when Gyökeres did very similar. But what we were led to believe anyway was that Gyökeres had been promised certain things by his club and they completely reneged on those.
I was just going to refer to Charlie Eccleshare on the Totally Football podcast was talking about how he's not... he was kind of saying that Newcastle should be a little bit more bullish in the sense that... and he used Harry Kane as an analogy.
Yeah, true.
Because there was about 3 years ago when Man City were knocking on the door.
That's right.
And Harry Kane was like, well, I don't want to play. And he stayed away from training and this, that and the other. And Tottenham went, well, you're under contract. Tough. You signed a 5-year deal. So unless they come in with silly money...
Yeah, not everybody's Levy, are they?
No, well, this is true. Yeah, absolutely right. And if Liverpool are looking at 120 million, that is silly money, and Newcastle would have to take it, because it will help them build as well.
Yeah, but the thing is, they've got. I mean, Wissa, I think, is most likely, but he's not he's more of a replacement for Callum Wilson, not for Isak.
Yeah. Well, you can't really replace it.
Bizarrely, Ekitike was the most kind of, in terms of player profile, the most akin to Isak, and Liverpool. It's a weird one because Liverpool kind of, if they were going to go for Isak, then don't remove the easiest way that you could manufacture that sale or purchase by buying the one player that Newcastle wanted in place. But anyway, I don't know.
Or get both.
And which is what seems to be the the decision.
The cojones on that.
I mean, I did a question when the first game, the Newcastle Liverpool game was this season. It's actually before the end of the transfer window.
Before the end of the transfer window. So Newcastle could hold out for that.
Well, I think,
but Isak's not going to play by all accounts.
No, but I think that would be quite hostile. Not that it wouldn't. It would have been anyway for Liverpool, but even more so now. I think. Well, certainly, I don't know about the players, but the fans will be fired up.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what Liverpool have done wrong. To be fair,
no.
It's Isak is the one that's really wet the bed.
Yeah.
Liverpool have made an offer. It was rejected. They said we're not going to make another offer until Newcastle indicate they'll invite one. I think that's pretty reasonable. Far be it from me to compliment and congratulate Liverpool. Where's all the Liverpool fans now saying how great I am? And in fact, Liverpool's transfer window is a 10 out of 10 if they get Gay and the way they've sold and Isak. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10.
Well, just related to us, because Gahey, I believe he's not wanting to sign a new contract with Palace.
That's right.
So Palace are kind of accepting that he needs to be sold now so they can generate some money for him. Eze's a little bit different. His contract isn't as immediate.
Yeah.
Exactly. So they could hold out a little bit longer. And
his release clause is valid until the 15th of August, I read. It didn't expire on the 1st, but the 15th. But Steve Parish has said we want that value regardless of when the sale is, and if that's the case.
60 million Eze doesn't sound... it's all relative because obviously it's mental, but, in relative terms, 60 million Eze...
Yeah,
okay.
Madueke 52 million, Elanga 55 million. It's 60 million or 68 million with add-ons. It's not robbery.
Doesn't seem...
You've got a maverick footballer there.
Yeah, well, exactly.
27. He's got 4 of his best years ahead of him. Anyway, back to my net spending. So Arsenal 189 net spend, Chelsea 102, Liverpool 94, Man City. As we are recording, they spent 160 and they've generated 5, so they're on 155 net spend. So they're below us on a net spend. Manchester United, we can always count on Manchester United. They've spent 214 million and they've sold nothing. They've got 0. So their net spend is 214. And they're threatening to drop 100 million on Belieber from Brighton, and he would be a really good purchase. And he would, I think, turn their buying window into a 10 out of 10. Maybe a goalkeeper, possibly a centre-half, but maybe a goalkeeper, definitely, and a defensive midfielder. I don't know. Brighton are indicating that they're not selling.
No.
So, don't know what you can do about that unless Belieber does what Isak's doing and what Gyökeres did before and making it patently clear that, no, look, sell me. I'm going to become a problem for you if you don't sell me. But there's no indication that Belieber's doing that at Brighton, and he's just 20. He's got plenty of time left, for the big boys to come in. But look, the net spend's interesting. United have 240. They're the only team that's got a higher net spend than us at the moment, and it's because both of us cannot sell players. Now, wages is a factor for United, certainly. Is someone going to be able to pay Zinchenko £100 million a week? I don't know what wage Trossard's on, but...
Well, I know, just to put it in perspective, I'm pretty sure Reece Nelson is around the 100k mark a week anyway. And there's a player who's a youth player, been promoted through the club, but is is a fringe squad player. And that's silly money. And it's certainly silly money that a mid-table Premier League club to take on, let alone anyone lower.
Especially with his injury record.
Well, yeah, especially recently. So
and I think that's Fulham would have him, but their reticence is the fact that he twanged his hammy with them.
And I think that plays into the fact that we're slightly different to... So Man United as a comparison is slightly different because they've clearly got more money than sense. So they just buy anyone and they put them on massive wages because they generate so much turnover, being such a global club, that's what they do. While ironically, the Jim Reaper has come in to try and asset strip the club and cut down costs, but then they spunk 200. Anyway, we'll get to the United preview in a bit. When we're trying to compete with the likes of Man City, who can write up, they can buy lots of players and put them on high wages and it doesn't really affect them too much. Liverpool are the interesting comparison because, we've talked about the way they seem to sell certain squad players. The one this summer is Kwanzaa. Here, Kwanzaa's gone to Leverkusen for about 35 million, but he's on really low wages. So actually, they're paying a transfer fee. It's probably amortised over a few years, and they can put him on what would probably be reasonable wages in the Bundesliga, but isn't, inhibitive. So therefore, that is a sale that can happen, let alone the fact that Liverpool did a deal to get Wirtz there as well. So they knew they had the money. There's none of that trade-off going with us. Arsenal have bought certain players in. They've made them very comfortable with the money that they're on and the environment that they're in. And that makes it hard to then change things around. And how we adapt that, I don't know. Maybe we sell a little bit sooner. Maybe Reece Nelson, the writing should have been on the wall 3-4 years ago. Vieira is probably the biggest kind of flop in terms of a transfer because of what we paid out. So maybe that kind of deal needs to be looked at. I don't know. It's a tricky one.
We just got to. If we can't create a market for them, we need to motivate them.
Yeah.
And so the squad news for Sunday will be interesting, I think. Now I don't know how severe Trossard's injury is. It was a muscular one, and he didn't feature in the last pre-season game. But who knows? Shall we move on to Sunday then?
Let's do it.
Well, look, to make me feel better, I looked up a few stats.
Oh, I'm glad you did, because I had some thoughts as well.
Okay, so 28th of September 2020. It's the last time we lost to a Big Six team. That's ridiculous. 2020, September 2020.
Can I just put something in there? You're talking Big Six as of 2020.
Well,
Man United finished the Premier League season last season 17th. They scored 40-something goals. I mean, I don't understand the media narrative. And there are some aspects where I do have some sympathy with United fans, because there's been the general treatment of their fan base, and particularly season ticket holders, OAPs, concessions and things like that, has been pretty diabolical, all under the guise of, the club are in financial trouble, we need to do this, and so therefore, cuts have to be made. It sounds very much, David Cameron's Broken Britain and all that kind of stuff from 2010s. And then they go and spend £200 million on their front line. Sesko, Cunha and Mbeumo. If I was a United fan, I'd be spitting feathers. And yet, putting that aside, I find it hilarious that more isn't being made. We are still in various corners of the internet, and even, I meet people face to face. We work in schools. We see a lot of people, and we are the butt of the jokes because we keep finishing second. I don't get it. They finished 17th.
Yeah, but they're not relevant.
But that, yeah. Okay.
So it's a compliment, isn't it?
It is. But then we get to the start of this season, because they've spent over £200 million or whatever it is on a front line, they're now relevant.
But also, you know why they're relevant.
I know.
Because they sell. They're huge. They're still the biggest club in the world.
Mm.
You know, Real Madrid, possibly, maybe Barca. I don't know by what metric you'd measure it, but they're up there in that conversation.
I know what metric.
Yeah, well, they're up there
Money.
in that conversation, aren't they? They're the best club in the world, the best supported club in the world, the most lucrative, the biggest money generator in terms of football clubs in the world. They're always going to be part. Whilst that's the case, they're always going to be part of the conversation. And so their agenda will be plugged and pushed, and look at all the ex-United players that are infesting mainstream or Sky Sports in particular. They're going to push the agenda of Manchester United, which makes it highly amusing that they did finish 17th, because it's makes a mockery of some of the things they say. Now, they have spent... listen, the mood... I Googled the Manchester Even News earlier on today just to get a sense of what the feeling was towards this game on Sunday and pre-season in general. And because the impression I've been getting is that the mood is really upbeat and bizarrely juxtaposing this is before our final pre-season game. Our mood was a bit down. Like, we finished second. Very, very good team, very strong. And we've made 6 really... I mean, everyone's on board with all 6 signings, even Madueke, especially after his little cameo in his first pre-season game for us. And we can see how direct he is and how much of maybe an uptick it could be on the left-hand side by comparison to Martinelli and certainly Trossard. And yet there was this kind of doom descending on the Arsenal sphere. Whereas Man United, who'd finished, as you say, scored 41 goals, lost the Europa League final.
To Spurs.
The worst game of football ever. Having the worst Premier League season ever. The lowest goal-scoring season ever. I mean, I'm saying ever. It might be 25 years or whatever, but it's ever. It might as well be forever. And yet, they're really upbeat. And I mean, their pre-season hasn't been fantastic. They drew 1-1 with, is it Villarreal Fiorentina. Fiorentina, I think they drew 1-1 in their final pre-season game, and they won on penalties. But the mood is upbeat, and this report I read on the MEN kind of substantiated that. And so then I was thinking, right, okay, reasons behind it, obviously, that their goal scoring was appalling last season. So they have really done that. And Mbeumo and Cunha, 2 very good players, good Premier League proven players, ready for the now, and players that Arsenal fans, let's be honest, wouldn't have turned our nose up at. Yep. And apparently we were interested in Mbeumo before Madueke, but he made it clear he wanted to go to Manchester United. So for him, as we've noted throughout this pre-season, this transfer window, he was an only Manchester United signing. He just wanted Man United, and fair play. That's good luck to him. Well, I don't mean that.
No.
Really good player. Cunha on the left-hand side, we all wanted... The only time we hesitated a little bit was when he had that breakdown, that mental relapse, when he smashed the glasses off the steward and stuff like that.
Leicester coach or something?
Yeah, we kind of questioned his mentality at that point. But then I think, I don't know, you looked it up or something. He's had 1 red card in about 120 games. So that
really was a moment.
Yeah, the outlier rather than the norm. And Sesko, listen, if I told you that Sesko would be lining up against Gyökeres for United against Arsenal, you'd have believed me in that game, but you wouldn't have said it for the respect. You'd have switched them. It would have been Sesko for us and Gyökeres back with his old manager Amorim.
So this is what slightly worries me about this game.
Slightly?
There's too much narrative.
Oh, completely.
We've got the striker that they initially wanted. And I do have to say, I can't remember it is some other idiot like us who does Man United online things. There's a video doing the rounds of him talking about Gyökeres. But Arsenal are getting Benjamin Tesco.
Yeah, I saw that one, yeah.
It's so funny. Who knows what he's thinking now? And I would just like to say, this is the thing. It would have to be a pretty special player for me to go all in like that. Because the 6 signings that we've made this summer, I like them all.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm not losing my mind over all of them, but I like them all. Because even when we were talking about Sesko or Gyökeres, for me, there were pros for both of them.
Yeah.
But there were also a few doubts as well. You know, Gyökeres's doubts is, well, he's smashed it in the Portuguese league.
Level up, yeah.
And it's a level up. It's going to be that thing, isn't it? Sesko was the thing about how he's young. He's quite raw. And then we wondered whether or not he backs himself because there were quotes about him not wanting really to compete for places and this, that and the other. So, there's reservations. But the fact that some of United fans went so quickly and so heavily for Gyökeres, I do find it quite funny, but also slightly troubling as well.
Yeah. Will he start? I checked in with my United mate, and he's not sure he'll start the game.
No.
He thinks Højlund might start, or he says Mason Mount might start for them. I have gone through United lineup based on what the Manchester Evening News were reporting on. Onana, good news for Arsenal, though they were packaging it as good news for United. Onana could be fit after his hamstring injury. And so they're going to play Amorim's system. So they're
3-4-3.
They're three centre-backs. The guaranteed one is Lenny Yoro on the right.
De Ligt.
A toss-up between De Ligt and Maguire in the centre, and a toss-up between Aidan Heaven and Luke Shaw on the left. I think it'll be Luke Shaw because I think Aidan Heaven picked up an injury in his last pre-season game. And I don't know, it's not a serious injury, but I think it might be enough to make the mind up with Luke Shaw. Now, interestingly, this is, and we'll come back to when we pick the Arsenal team. On the right-hand side, their right wing-back will be Ahmad, and their left wing-back will be Dorgu. Now, Ahmad's an interesting one because the purchase of Mbeumo has pushed Ahmad back further, and he was their most dangerous player at times last season, Ahmad. So that right-hand side is going to be, and with Lenny Yoro's like 19, that right-hand side is going to be an area that we could really take advantage of.
But that's
unless Martinelli starts. But anyway, I'm sorry, I don't mean that. I do mean that. And then in midfield, Fernandes will definitely start. And then it could be one of Ugarte, Kobbie Mainoo or Casemiro. So that's
Casemiro,
obviously...
Casemiro,
yeah, please.
Casemiro,
Yes,
Casemiro.
please, yeah. My vote goes to Casemiro, please. Watch him play and then score the winner.
Oh, don't.
That's how I genuinely think and feel about this fixture.
That's how I feel about all football.
I absolutely believe that's what's going to happen now I've thought it. And then their front three, well, okay, it will be Cunha on the left, it will be Mbeumo on the right, and then, I mean, Sesko has had training sessions with them. He hasn't had any minutes on a pitch with them. I mean, I'd be tempted if I was Amorim to go for it and to start him and to play him for 60 minutes and see how he gets on. But probably he'll start from the bench and Højlund. I don't know, is Xerxes injured? I think he might be. I don't know. But there's Højlund or Chido Obi. So there's your other narrative line as well. But I know that, and I know from my United mate that he's really excited about the game, and he's not saying that like he thinks they're going to beat us or anything. But just because it's the first game of the season, there's new signings, there's excitement. You know, look at us last season. Who started our first game last season that was a new signing? What did Calafiori start? Did he come on? You know, there was none. We didn't have that. Now we know that we're going to have two of our starting 11 will probably be new signings, Zubimendi and Gyökeres. Madueke might well start also. I don't think any of the others will start. Mosquera, Norgard. Who am I missing? Kepa, obviously, right? Okay, so two. And that's exciting. So United fans are going to be up for this, and it could be a harem scarum kind of game. Which I don't know. I mean, I don't know who that suits. If we've got clinical Gyökeres in the team, it could suit us. I don't know. Anyway, so that's the United team. With that in mind, what's your Arsenal 11 for the day?
My Arsenal 11 is extremely predictable. I do want to caveat in the fact that I don't think this is the team that I would go with, but I have to get my head around that this is probably Arteta's first choice and how he wants to set up.
Well, explain as you go through it.
Yeah.
For the players that you would put in, just map those out.
So Raya in goal. Now the back four of Timber, Saliba, Gabriel and Calafiori. My fullbacks would be White and Lewis Skelly. Because
Can I just say I would agree with exactly the two things you've just said there. I've got down the Arteta back four, but then I've put down in the two full-back positions White and Lewis Skelly as well.
Because two things. One, just going off, previous relationship, I think White and Saka have that lovely combination. Saka seems to, do really well when White's in the team.
And pre-season played a lot together.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is a balance, though. So Timber on the right is the more defence-first fullback, and White can be a little bit more up and down. The opposite is true of Calafiori and Miles Lewis Skelly. Miles Lewis Skelly kind of inverts into midfield, but he certainly doesn't go up and down. So he's a bit more defence first. Whereas Calafiori is, he's like someone who's in Star Trek, because he just seems to beam up in random parts of the pitch at sort of different times. I get the feeling that the reason Calafiori featured quite a bit, albeit he had a slight niggle at one point in pre-season, is I think Calafiori may be being used to unlock a little bit more creativity on the left. So I think that's why Arteta's going with him instead.
Does your decision alter when you think about the opposition, or do you think Arteta's thinking might factor that in? You've got Ahmad and Mbeumo on the United right.
Well, yes.
Very attacking.
Very attacking, although, having seen Mbeumo live many times, he's hardworking. I mean, he's tireless in his running. Cunha on the other side is a little bit more enigmatic. He's a bit more like our Saka, where you're not really sure he's in the game, and then he scored a goal, just kind of out of nowhere. So that is slightly different. Yeah, and I would definitely like to think that Arteta is starting to look at opposition in that way. Because whatever you say about United, yes, they've got some new personnel in the team. The tactics under Amorim will be exactly the same. He's one of these dogmatic coaches that seems to be fairly wedded to a system for some apparent reason, despite, especially last season, not having the players to do that at all, as 17th in the league kind of proved. So, yeah, that's my back four and the keeper. Midfield, I feel like it picks itself for now. Odegaard, Zubimendi, Rice. I read a couple of interesting things. And actually, I should give a shout out to Adam from the Arsenal Therapy podcast. He had Adrian Clark on a recent YouTube show with him, and they dipped into some of the analysis about how Arsenal are going to set up in terms of their attack. And they did sort of reference the fact that Zubimendi and Rice could be used as a double pivot, meaning Odegaard becomes a more traditional kind of number 10, and maybe that's a way of utilising Zubimendi's strengths a little bit more. So that'll be interesting.
I think that's what happened in the second half against Athletic Club.
Exactly. So that could be interesting. The fact that we can be flexible, again, all
Brilliant.
Good. Front line, I don't know if this is keeping it simple. I feel like it's keeping it simple. Saka, Gyökeres, Martinelli.
And is that what you would pick?
Before the Bilbao game,
yes,
I would have gone with Havertz, but
instead of who?
Instead of Gyökeres.
Oh wow, okay.
But Gyökeres, I mean, I didn't watch the whole game. But the highlights I saw and what I read about it, get him on, get him in, get him going, see what happens. Yeah.
So, I mean, my midfield three is exactly the same as yours, and my front three, I've slightly tweaked it. I mean, no, I haven't. I've gone the same as you because of what I think Arteta will do, which is Saka, Gyökeres and Martinelli. But I would start with Madueke. I think, especially if you've got Zubimendi and Rice doing that double pivot, Odegaard is more central. Now, Madueke, this is interesting. A left-footed player on the left-hand side. Look at the goal, the Gyökeres header that hit the post against Athletic Club. It was a first-time cross from the left on his left foot from Madueke. Martinelli's not playing that ball.
No.
Look at the first-time cross from Kivior for the goal against Saka's. Was it Saka's header? I can't remember. In one of our pre-season games. Look at the goal, Gyökeres' goal. First time cross from Zubimendi on the other side. from the cutback from Saka, first time cross, bang, header, goal. It's a different tactic from us, not the cutback. Well, we did plenty of cutbacks as well in those games. So I think if Ødegaard has a more central role, which is good because it gives Saka more space, and so the defence cannot double and triple up on Saka because they're worried about Ødegaard and Gyökeres in the middle. And then if Madueke is keeping further, like not running down your blind alleys, and of course the jury's out on Madueke and how well he will perform on the left-hand side. We know what Martinelli... I'm afraid, I fear that Martinelli is not going to get any better. Brilliant work ethic, he will score some good goals, will create some chaos from time to time, but more often than not, or too often, he will run down a blind alley and not get his head up, and the attack will slow down or peter out or whatever. Just more output. We want. I know this is very greedy, but we want Saka output on the left-hand side. That's what we want. Or we at least want Saka focus on the left-hand side from the opposition. So I would start with Madueke. And Martinelli comes off the bench for the last 30 minutes and against tiring legs. Like, it's worked before, not work again. And the other thing about Madueke on the left-hand side, 9 teams last season made more crosses from open play than us. First-time crosses from open play crosses, however you want to describe it. 9 teams did more than us last season. Now, I've just described to you 3 crosses from open play that led to 2 goals and a post. And I think it's something that we're working on, because that's to come 10th in that metric is not great. So I would start Percy with Madueke. Can I just read out Chris's? I forgot Chris. Sorry, mate. Not too sorry. You're enjoying Cypriot weather and hospitality, so you're doing okay for yourself. But you did send in some thoughts on the transfer business. So I will read those. I know it belongs in the previous section. Soz, thoughts on transfer business, as there seems to have been a shift of sentiment since Spurs' recent interest came to light. He's talking about Eze, who shall not be mentioned. If buying one more top player, copyright Wenger, is dependent on players leaving, is there growing pressure on Berta? Yes. Whispers of Trossard to Turkey, Vieira to Stuttgart, Zinni, Kivior. We get add in Nelson to that. Karl Hein. Arguably a more difficult task for Berta. If he fails and we don't get our marquee man on the left, i.e. Eze perhaps, or someone else, it's at least a point off the transfer window score for Chris. His team then, I think we echoed all of those sentiments in our little section there. He's gone for Raya, Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, Calafiori, Zubimendi, Rice, Ødegaard, and he's gone for Saka, Gyökeres and Martinelli. So very similar.
Same team as me, but he deliberately set it out in the message to us where he wants Zubi and Rice as together, that double pivot. Yeah.
So he's got 4-2-3-1 as his system. I think there will be a tendency to go with the shape that works so well versus Sporting. Does he mean Athletic Club, maybe? A kind of 4-2-3-1, although, as Mikel said, they can change the puzzle depending on game state, etc. And that's kind of integral. We've got so many options. It's Arteta's ability to game manage, and he did that against Athletic Club. He changed the format, and it worked. So that's, yeah, right. So, Chris, I got it in eventually. Better late than never, Chris. Now, have you named a bench?
Nope.
I just don't, and I've said this before, I just don't want to see Trossard, Zinchenko, Nelson or Vieira on the bench.
Well, can't you have something, you can have 9 players.
9 players. I don't want it, that's even more of a pointed message, isn't it? 9 spaces, you're not on it. Motivate the player. This is what it's going to be like. Yeah. You're not involved in a matchday squad. You're not involved in a matchday squad against Leeds or against Liverpool. And probably not. It's a lot, and there's a long time till January.
Yeah.
I'd be saying this. You've got to be ruthless. Especially if the consequences of not selling these players is not signing Eze or someone other player of his ilk. And I'm talking about like a Rodrigo. that needle mover, not just another squad player that just replaces like for
someone
like.
who's going to trouble the starting 11.
Yeah, absolutely. Is it time for you to shock me?
Well, I'll tell you what. Do you want to? Because we've got Chris's prediction.
We have, yeah.
He predicts that Arsenal will win 2-1.
And he's named the goal scorers, hasn't he?
Oh, I didn't see that in his message. Who did he say?
Saka and Rice.
Oh, right, okay.
Saka Rice.
Okay.
It's you now.
Is it? Funnily enough, and look, I haven't written anything down on my pad, so you can see, I'm not copying or anything. I think Arsenal will win 2-1 as well. And a part of that, you know how you say you suffer trauma from United? Well, my superstition, I can't go. We're hosting lots of people at our farm this weekend, so I can't do Man Utd Away, and so therefore, because I've got an absolutely shocking record at Old Trafford, I've convinced myself that Arsenal will win because I am not there. So I'm going 2-1.
My world is not right.
I also think it's one of those things like, I don't know. I just think if we can overwhelm their midfield, they're going to have more threat going forward. But United could be got at, I think. 2-1.
Okay. So we have won 5 and drawn 5 of our last 10 games against the Big Six, the traditional Big Six, versus United themselves. In our last 5 games, we've won 4, drawn 1, scored 10, conceded 4. Last season, we drew 1-1 at Old Trafford towards the end of the season, March time. Our last defeat to them, 4th of September 2022. We lost 3-1 at Old Trafford. You were there?
Presumably.
Our defence is superb. Gabriel's back. Our midfield is superb.
Are you delaying your prediction for a reason?
Well, no. I'm trying to convince myself. That's what I'm trying to do, because every sinew, nerve ending is screaming pain and suffer for Sunday 4:30 kickoff. I'm not sure where I'm going to be able to watch it, in fact, and for once, that's not bothering me as much as it should do, because let it all happen. If I don't see it, it didn't really happen. Kind of mentality. I've got us down to win 3-1.
Okay.
You got to back yourselves.
Sure.
And so I've talked about defence. Yes, no, absolutely. I'm trying to convince myself. I keep telling you, this is not for anyone else's benefit, but my own.
Well, for any listeners who are maybe joining us this season, we do these predictions and we keep a score. So it's if we get the exact score right, we get 3 points, and if we get the right result, it's 1 point. And Chris won by quite a way, I think, last season. And yeah, if results had gone the way that Holly and I predicted, actually I was quite close last season, and we all agree that it was a bit disappointing in terms of the points tally. So, but your optimism would see us getting something like 100 points every season.
We're good enough. We're good enough, mate.
We are. Very much so.
Someone said, how many points do you want for the first 6 games? And I said 18.
Absolutely.
Doesn't mean I'm going to get them.
No.
I want them. That's what I want, though. I probably won't pick. I definitely won't predict a win at Anfield. I can tell you that now. It'll be a draw. I'm not going to back us to lose.
We'll have to see how I go with that one.
Yeah,
I know I'm normally the pessimistic one, but I don't know. It's just I'm going to feed off, the buoyancy in the same way that United fans will be buoyant because of the transfers that they've brought in and will feel refreshed. I feel like we've got that same feeling. It was interesting. You saying that earlier about last season's first game. Yeah, it was more of the same. So it can't be this time. Zubimendi will see to that for a start.
I think the first goal, stupid thing to say, daft thing perhaps, but the first goal will be really important on Sunday. If we score it, United has been traumatised by what happened last season, as in the fan base and the players, and most of those players will still be on the pitch again. We go 1-0 up, and we haven't ceded much chance, because we are such a well-drilled unit. I mean, our press is phenomenal. We don't give teams a second breathing space. we were unlucky last year in the high proportion of goals we conceded to shots. Like, it was disproportionate. We shouldn't have conceded as many goals with the small number of shots that we gave up. And so you're hoping for things like that to revert to norm rather than be anomalies, like with the injuries, like with the dodgy bloody decisions. So we're the better team. You know, we finished second, they finished 17th. We have strengthened our team in the areas that we needed to strengthen, bar maybe the left-hand side. But maybe the left-hand side with Madueke as well. We're discounting him on the left-hand side a little bit, maybe churlishly perhaps. But, you know, why shouldn't we expect to go there and win? I say, even just saying that brings me out in a cold sweat. I've got a couple of other things. First of all, there's the 3 p.m. blackout on a Saturday. That's still in place for us in the UK. However, there's the multi-match on a Sunday, so you can watch any game, all the games on a Sunday you can watch live now. So if there are, I think on the first Sunday there are 2 games that kick off at 2:00. You can choose which one of those games you watch, and it'll be really interesting to see how many big teams end up playing at 3:00 on a Saturday. I would suggest that less and less there'll be any of the big teams, the crowd pullers, if you like, kicking off at 3:00 on a Saturday. I don't know how many Friday evening kickoffs there are penciled in this season.
Can I just say this Saturday Spurs are playing at 3:00.
Oh, exactly. So there's my point in all its glory, highlighted better than I could have highlighted myself. No big team playing at 3:00 on a Saturday. We don't play them for a while, so I feel safe saying that. Don't get Eze.
Oof.
That's it. So I thought that's quite. Look, you're talking about the kind of new things that might be occurring this season in the viewers' sphere, and that's one of them.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I really look forward to conceding a corner on Sunday when David Raya keeps hold of the ball for 9 seconds, because after 8 now, I think it is, you concede a corner because it's...
And it's the Stretford end who've counted it, and they've gone much quicker.
Yes.
And actually... Arsenal fans, within 2 minutes of the final whistle going, have tallied up the fact that Onana, I'm hoping, fingers crossed, he's in goal, has actually held on to the ball more than 8 seconds on 28 occasions and conceded no corner. And we've lost to the goal we conceded from said corner. I catastrophise when Man United are concerned.
But it's so believable.
Yes, because it's going to happen.
It's so believable.
It'll only happen to us. I did ask you and Chris to give me one thing that you're grateful for, Arsenal-wise, not like, health and happiness and all of that, but Arsenal-wise, going into the new season. I'll read Chris's in a minute.
Oh, right, okay. So mine, thinking about this, I mean, there's some short-term things. I'm grateful for the signings that we've made. I'm grateful that, I'm going to be going back to football, seeing a lot of friends and all that kind of thing as well. But I think in the sort of whole holistic thing to do with the club, I think I'm always most grateful when I go into the start of a season and I have a realistic hope that we could win the league. That feeling of my club is good enough, the team is good enough to challenge for the title, okay? Because if I don't want to pick a team, okay, to denigrate
Don't
them.
Say United.
No, I'm not going to say anyone like that. But, if I were a team, odds-wise that are somewhere down the bottom in terms of that, okay, fine.
For example.
But, if I was there going... someone asked me, what are you hoping for this season? Well, we'll win the league. Well, everyone's going to go, well, yeah, you're an idiot. But actually, if an Arsenal fan says, well, I hope we win the league, it'll be like, there might be that bloody banter about, second again, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, that is as close as you can get without doing it. But a realistic hope of winning the league. And that shows that your club is doing something right, I would say. And generally, the vibes are pretty good. We like our manager. We like our players. The fan base is relatively united about most things. It is positive. Any negativity is generally from outside looking in.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
this thought process, I'm kind of thinking out loud now, led me to think about this. That whole thing about, second again, ole, ole. I love spinning that and going, so you believe we should be winning because Arsenal are big enough and have a high enough standing that you think Arsenal should be winning. Thank you for your compliment. Yes, I'm disappointed that
Can you put that into a chant that might be...
You'll never sing that. You just put your... No, I don't know. It is that thing, isn't it? The reason people like to pick on Arsenal's failure, in inverted commas, of finishing second... is because we have a standing in, domestic football in England that we are a big club. And I love being part of that in a very, very small way.
Yeah, Liverpool fan base, City fan base, definitely. They can have legitimate claims to the same hopes at the start of this season. Chelsea fans...
On the edge, maybe,
I think, I could take the argument, but after that, there's no one else. So
no, Newcastle, Villa, even Spurs United, they're going to be going...
winning the league.
Not winning the league.
European Champions League, yes, absolutely, sure. I'll just read Chris's out. Chris says, I suppose grateful that the owners seem to be backing Arteta, a manager we have faith in, and that we have a squad maturing together full of quality players we like, many from our youth system, capable of competing at the top. These elements don't always occur and align at once, so for that, I'm grateful.
Great point.
And I read that and I thought, well, I'm not even going to think of one because that articulates and summarises what I think perfectly. So
I will always say that actually, because I should have done before, I'm always grateful for Bukayo Saka.
Just
only
leave
because
it at that. Bukayo Saka.
There are some players, and Henry might actually be one to a certain extent where I worry I didn't appreciate them as much as I should have done at the time. Yeah. So I'm locked into Bukayo Saka. He, for me, is
his number. If we were to make bold predictions, as we did in the last, one of my bold predictions behind Max Diamond being named in the English, not even that. Like Saka's going to score 25 goals this season.
Ooh.
He's that age now, and I think, as I said, he's going to have more space. And if he doesn't have more space, he's going to have that assist record is under threat for sure. But if he's on penalties, which is not a given,
Gyökeres likes.
Yes, no, absolutely, yeah. Mm-hmm. And Arteta, I think Arteta was asked, and he said, "Well, it was whatever they decide." So he's actually not leaving it. He's not. I mean, maybe he will behind the scenes say, "Look, no, Saka's taking the first penalty. We'll take it, and we'll go from there."
Yeah,
I think that would be legitimate approach to take. Right, excellent. Anything else to add? Have you missed anything? Have I missed anything?
No.
United Sunday 4:30. You will be watching it, I assume.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know who will be remaining as we have friends over camping and stuff.
Any United fans?
There will be United fans, but probably not by that time on the Sunday because people
they shouldn't.
Are travelling.
Kick them out anyway
from all over. I want them here. 17th. This is, if I can't gloat, I will be wearing because it's so hot as well, I might change my Arsenal shirt every hour.
Several times.
Just to wind it in. 17th! Put it this way, there'll be one Liverpool fan who will be the only one who can have anything, whereas everyone else...
They'll have beaten Bournemouth on Friday night.
Oh, they're going to absolutely smash Bournemouth. I can see
Mind you, they didn't smash Crystal Palace, did they?
No. So, fingers crossed.
Hopes, yes.
But Bournemouth have sold all their defence, and their keeper.
They've literally sold their whole defence, yes. Kirkes, Zabani, Howson, Kepa. Who's the right back that's gone?
I can't remember.
Well, they've sold 4/5 of their defence.
That's crazy.
That's impressive.
I mean, if they get a result, wow.
I don't know who they've replaced them with. I have no idea, so I've not looked. Anyway, brilliant. Okay, listen. If we can't look forward to the start of the new season, we can't be excited, then we shouldn't be in the game at all. It's just a shame for me it's Man United away because I have all sorts of personal issues that I have to deal with that are clearly undealt with at this point in my life, and I don't think that's ever going to change.
Just keep telling yourself, Arsenal are playing the team that finished 17th last season.
away from home. That should be fine. I should get on board with that until I look up the last season's final standings and see Manchester United's name alongside the number 17, in which case I come out in a cold sweat again. And it's 3 a.m. again. Here we go. Anyway, come on, the boys. Enjoy the next videos. Thanks for chatting. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And we will have a post-match review at some point after the game. Have a good one. Cheerio.
Cheers. Leave a rating and a review. Sign up on followers on YouTube.
That too.
The North Bank, an Arsenal podcast. Subscribe, rate and review on your app, and find us on your socials at North Bank Pod. Email hello@thenorthbankafc.com and check out our website, thenorthbankafc.com. Produced by the Podcast Company.